Yeah, I got friends. They just they just live in a different state. So no, I'm not trying to go out of state right now. Let me see. He's in a review now, and he will get an answer. Hey, in Texas, do they go in front of a parole
My
board?
name is Philip Wingersman. Today is March 7th, 2025, and this is the Public Act 2021-69 hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. For the record, Mr. Sosa, the state of Connecticut, made effective October 1st, 2023. Public Act 2021-69. It's an act concerning parole eligibility for individuals serving a lengthy sentence.
He did.
For a crime committed before the individual reached the age of 21 and criminal history records erasure. You fall under this act. This means that you were under the age of 21. The board shall give great weight to the diminished culpabilities of juveniles as compared to adults, the hallmark features of youth, and any subsequent growth and maturity displayed while we're reviewing you for suitability today. The following board members are present this afternoon by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents in preparation of this hearing.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Zaccanini.
Nancy Turner, good afternoon.
Panel Member Barry, good afternoon.
Listen to his name.
Attendance,
If you want his name.
Robert O'Brien. Attorney O'Brien, if you could please state your name, juris number, and business address for the record.
Sure. Good afternoon. Robert O'Brien. My juris number is 434115. And the business address is the law office of Christopher Doobie at 59 Elm Street, 3rd floor in New Haven.
Thank you. Also present this afternoon, we have State's Attorney Christian Watson. Attorney Watson, if you can also please do the same, state your name, juris number, and business address for the record.
State's Attorney Christian Watson, 420042, 20 Franklin Square, New Britain, Connecticut, New Britain State's Attorney's Office.
Thank you very much. And also present this afternoon, we have Ms. DeJesus from the Office of Victim Services. Mr. Sosa, can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
My name is Andre Sosa, and my email number is 260589.
Thank you. This is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1-200, which applies procedure. Mr. Sosa, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time. Again, this is a public hearing. Mr. Sosa, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
And are you willing to proceed with the hearing?
Yes.
Thank you. So as previously indicated, this is a Public Act 2021-69 hearing. It's being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Andre Sosa, inmate number 260589. Mr. Sosa is serving a sentence of 43 years flat, with no probation to follow for 2 counts of murder and weapon in a correctional institution. There is victim input in this case. There is also an offender accountability plan in place that has been reviewed and shows that he has completed programming such as alternative violence, therapy, Start Now, Tier 1, Thinking for a Change, Voices, Good Intentions, Bad Choices, People Empowering People, The Thresholds, Anger Management, Tier 2, Commitment to Change, Beyond Fear, and the Lifers Group. And he also currently maintains a job assignment. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within the moderate range for recidivism. Mr. Sosa, at this time, it's now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, and you may begin.
So I should read the statement. I would like to address the board and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be present here today, also allowing me to speak to the victim family. I'd like to apologize to the victim family. I start with the family of Juan Carlos Rodriguez, aka Lito, to his mother, sister, brothers, and all the siblings. I deeply apologize for your loss, pain, and suffering that my action had caused your family. It's important for his sister to know that I do remember her crying. I have never forgotten the pain and suffering in their faces. The pain and suffering in their faces is still haunting me to this point. Me being the one to be blamed for such suffering, and I have to live with that for the rest of my life, including the last 27 years. I'd like to apologize to his daughter and to her brother or sister for your loss. I am so sorry your dad is gone, and me be the cause of that. I can only imagine your agony or the questions you have about your dad. The family of Arcadio Rivera. The family of Arcadio Rivera, aka Charlie, aka Ace, to his mother, brother, sister, and to all his siblings of his family. I remember Charlie. I feel so sorry he's gone, and I am the cause of your loss, pain, and suffering. I want the victim families to know I always think about their loss. In my last 27 years of incarceration, and the age of 18 years old, I have plenty of time to think and learn about the loss, pain, and suffering my action had caused. I wish I can take it back. I really do. In many occasions, I had and still pray for the soul of Charlie and Lito, asking God for them to be at peace and for their forgiveness. I apologize to the victim family for their loss, pain, and suffering. I hope the victim family one day can find it in their heart to forgive me. I understand that if they don't do it, since it is a process that can take a lifetime, it is important for the board to know who I am and where I came from. In my lifetime, I had lots of ups and downs. I had a difficult upbringing. My mother and father separated in the first few years of my life. My mother gave full custody of me to my father, wanting nothing to do with me. While living with her, I was physically, verbally, and mentally abused by her. Once, he was drowning me in a tank full of water. My mother died when I was in between 3 to 5 years old. She died due to childbirth complication, giving birth to a girl, who she then gave to a friend of her to raise, and who I had only met once in my lifetime back in 1994. When I went to live with my father, I was physically abused by him and my stepmother. I was tied up to table like an animal, denied food, water. I was left alone, having to care for my sister and brother while my dad was out drinking and with prostitutes. I was also sexually assaulted. While living at my father's mother's, I was treated her, but also sexually abused by friends of the family. I was then sent back to live under my dad's care, where the abuse got worse at his hand due to his drinking. Sometime in September 1994, my father and I relocated in South Bronx with his aunt, apartment, and siblings. He did abandon me again by leaving me there after he met another female woman who used to drink more than him. I was told by his son that I had to move out. Then I went and moved to a friend apartment next door. I was there and I was helping. They also told me I had to leave. And I once again felt wanted and unloved. After searching for work in the street of New York City, all I can be hired at that age was selling narcotics, crack cocaine. I learned the drug trade and sold for survival. I managed to save money to rent a room for $100 a week, eat and buy clothes. By winter of 1995, that's when I met a young, powerful Dominican man who took me under his wing, became a friend and father figure to me, offering me opportunities. And on July of 1997, this friend named Kelvin, aka Bijet the Money, offered me the opportunity to come to Connecticut with him for a much better life at the age of 18 years old. And for a few months prior to my arrest, I did reside with Kelvin, his brother, cousin, relative, and friends. Of course, I felt I belonged. I was accepted. I thought someone cared. I was a child growing up in a non-normal environment, thinking that what was going on around me was normal behavior. Because as a kid, you don't know really what's right from wrong. You just know things don't feel right. So you only cry as a kid, as a children. That's all you could do. When you as a kid grow up around dysfunction and chaos, or you see things of the criminal element going on in the neighborhood that you don't really understand and you are young, it becomes normal to you. For example, when you witness violence and abuse and experience such as well as a kid, for such period of time, you start to believe that the way to solve a problem is only through violence, which is not true. Only after you mature or you get that wake-up call behind these prison walls is when you start to realize and find out all I've been through and experienced as a child, leading to my wrongful action, were all wrong from the start. By the age of 16 years old, I began drinking, then progressed to weed, cigarette, LSD, and cocaine. That lasts until my incarceration on November of 1997 at the age of 18 years old. 18 years old, not mature in prison, it was hard for me to adjust to the new environment, detoxing from addiction with no treatment, not knowing how to deal with my problems. I was constantly in trouble. It took me a while to learn how to navigate through the system, adjusting to the new me, listening to family members' program, reflecting on my life. I recycle the old me, reprogram myself, but I finally got it. In prison, rehabilitation is something that a prisoner got to want for himself. Is not going. In prison, rehabilitation is something that a prisoner got to want for himself. If not, it won't happen. It can be forced. It won't work that way. I always did believe in education. Without it, you won't go far in life. So instead of buying commissary, I decided to invest in my education, going back to school by correspondence. We Thompson Education Direct. In October of 2003, I did obtain my high school diploma. I took bokeh classes in June. In 2004, I became a certified electromechanic with the state of Connecticut Unified School District 1. I decided to invest in my education again. In January 29, 2008, I became a certified legal assistant paralegal with the Blackstone Career Institute with an average of 91.29%. I wanted to continue further my education, so I did apply in 2002 and in 2004 to Wesleyan University. I did make it past the admission test, but they told me they didn't have a spot for me. I did not let that discourage me in not continuing in education, so I applied for bokeh education, and I started commercial cleaning in 2004, in June 2004. Since then, I've been certified over 22 times. Today, my education needs score stated by DOC is 2B from a 5, the lowest an inmate can have without college or university completion. I taught and teach myself how to read and write English. During my incarceration, I did author a children's book titled The Ghost Town. I knew I was having problems with the trauma I experienced in my life and with my anger. So I took psychotherapeutic treatment and programs to help me cope with it, such as the ABP program, basic and advanced. I made the decision to get drug treatment by attending substance abuse relapse prevention program, Tier 1 and Tier 2. You can get to know your medication, education, seeking safety, a treatment manual for PTSD, and substance abuse program, AA, and connected behavior therapy, CBT. And by taking people empowering people, I learned about post-incarceration syndrome. I completed anger management program to help me with my attitude and overall take control of my anger. I took commitment to change program, voices, good intention by choices, introduction to connected behavior therapy group program, livelihood threshold, people empowering people program, beyond fair. I have mentored inmates and outside participants in ABP who were required to take these programs. I did mentor inmates for Voices program. During the period of my incarceration, I had taken it upon myself to mentor juveniles in my housing units or around at the Lifeless group. As a result, the mother and the inmates had provided me with letters about myself and to thank me as well. I have held multiple prison jobs during my incarceration. I have worked as a TMN, floor sweeping, mopping, stripping, waxing, painter, office cleaner, general restroom cleaner, institutional laundry, commissary line bagger, kitchen, washing dishes, floor, food cars, food lines, preparing the food, electromechanic, fixing buffer, vacuum, typewriters, copy machine, etc. All these jobs helped me build a work ethic I didn't have before I came to prison, which is skill I can use if granted release. Plus, it helped me gain financial independence, understanding the fact that law-abiding citizens in our society work to support themselves. The work and program performance evaluation signed and completed by the officer and staff show my good and excellent work attitude, productivity, initiative, attendance, as a change and mature, respectful individual. Reentry plan. My reentry plan will consist of me going to live with my sister or the Dominican Republic, also with my aunt and uncle who also reside in Manhattan as well. I have family support who is going to assist me financially. For the meantime, I get on my feet, search for a job, and succeed the right way. If granted relief, I will seek employment and opportunities if needed from non-profit organizations. For example, the Fortune Society. I can seek assistance from career counselors, reentry organization. I can go through the Workforce Alliance to find jobs. Internet Employment Agency, Jobs Affairs, State Department of Labor, Employment and Training Service, community organization, ads in the newspaper, season worth, help wanted, and now hiring notice in shops, restaurant. In the Dominican Republic, I can reach out to the employer agency, Mr. Luis Anivar. My short-term goal consists of getting my ID, getting a phone, work, healthcare, insurance, therapy, open a small bank account, get a learning driving permit. My mid-range goal consists of obtaining driver's license, buy a used car, get car insurance registration, find love, volunteer in the community to help in soup kitchen, shelter, food banks, church, school, youth organization, join a stop the violence organization to prevent and reach youth in the community from coming down the same path I choose. Tell them about me, what I've been through, how to deal with mental issues on the same level I had. Get them to try to open up to others so that they can seek the proper professional help needed. My long-term goal consists of being able to sustain a full-time job, search for my other sisters, start a family, own a house. My conclusion. This has been a learning lesson journey for me. I'd like to thank the board for considering me to be here today. I hope you take all the consideration or you have heard from me about me, who I have become through the years, and give me a chance at life in the free outside world. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sosa, for your statement. We did receive that statement in advance, so we had reviewed that. In addition, we've reviewed all of your case file from the police report, sentencing transcript, your records throughout your incarceration, as well as correspondence from Attorney O'Brien and Dr. Hall, although it had some inaccuracies and an opinion that I certainly wouldn't agree with. We're very well versed in your case, and we're prepared to ask you some questions. When we're done with our questions, we'll hear from the Office of Victim Services, any victim input that they have, followed by a statement from the state's attorney and your own attorney. Then we'll deliberate and give you our decision. Okay?
Thank you.
We'll begin with my colleague, Ms. Berry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, Mr. Sosa, thank you for that opening statement. It was quite lengthy, but you did cover a tremendous amount of ground. So we appreciate your preparing for the hearing. Let's talk a little bit about the offense and your mentality back when. Okay? So one, our record indicates that you had already been convicted of a possession of a weapon in New York. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so were you under supervision for New York at the time that you were in Connecticut?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so why did you go and acquire another firearm?
That time I was involved in selling drugs and we needed protection.
Okay. All right. So you had this firearm on you, and so as my records are correct, it was almost midnight, around 11 o'clock, 11:51 at night. What happened?
I was on my way. We was there with the trap, what they call the trap house. I went down to meet with Luis Colon in O Street. On my way there, I had an encounter with the victims, and I told them that I was going down that way to see Luis Colon. They told me, let's go this way, and they walked me to what I believe is Class Street, which it was very dark and things of that nature. I got scared and panicked, thought they was going to harm me by me reading the corporal body language. So I pulled out my firearm and shot them.
Okay, but that doesn't sound like what the official documents say. Why were you with these victims in the first place? What was the purpose?
I was not with them at that time. I happened to meet with them, and I knew them from around the area. I used to provide narcotics to the building. Yeah, to the building. Manny Super, Mr. Luis Colon, and that was the only relationship I had around them. Besides one of them that I knew from New York, I met him when we was in Rikers Island, and that would be Arcadio Charlie,
Wait.
Arcadio Rivera.
So Mr. Sosa, I'm sorry. You told the parole officer when you were interviewed in preparation for today's hearing that you said one of the victims were involved with the robbery. No?
Yes. That was not right there.
This was not retaliatory?
No, man. That was not retaliatory. I told her that we was robbed before, and they didn't rob me personally. They robbed who was my boss, Kelvin, my friend, brother, and cousin. And from that day, we had acquired weapons to protect ourselves. And that's what I told her.
So you followed people into a dark alley that you had some kind of history with. Why? It doesn't make sense.
I don't really call it a history because they didn't rob me. They didn't rob me personally. I didn't know it was really them that robbed these people.
Mm-hmm.
Means, and that it was in an alley. It was a street.
It was a street. But
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
saying to me, like, I don't understand what these two people would have to talk to you about in the dark that they couldn't talk to you about when they saw you. Like, the story doesn't make any sense.
Yup.
Exactly, me. So I don't know. They just told me that we was going to go over there and see Luis, and I followed them.
And so if you had no intentions, Mr. Sosa, of committing these murders, why did you shoot? The witnesses said that you stood over this victim you shot once already, and he was lying on the ground, and you shot 2 more times?
That's what the record reflect. Yes. I shot one, they said 3 times, and the other one 2 times.
And then so that wasn't enough, and then you ran behind the other guy and shot him too?
I don't think that I ran after nobody. I just point that direction and I shoot, and that's it.
But
I didn't chase nobody.
Wasn't the other person trying to leave the scene?
I just see somebody moving me and going down that way, and I shot the individual.
Yeah, this was a lot, Mr. Sosa. I mean, honestly, one, you weren't even supposed to have a weapon on you because you were a convicted felon. And 2,
Yes,
then you go out into the community with this weapon, thinking that you're going to protect yourself, and you're putting other people at harm. And 2 people lose their lives because 1, you're not licensed to carry a weapon, and 2, you weren't trained to. And those bullets really could have hit. And people saw what you were doing from their windows in their houses. Okay, so now let's move forward. So now we come into how long after you committed these crimes were you arrested? What was the time between those two?
Like 3 days after,
Okay. So where were you in those 3 days?
in the same area. I was in Hartford and in Britain.
So did you know that they were looking for you?
No.
Did you know that you killed 2 people?
Yes, ma'am.
So why didn't you go to the police? Because you knew that they were investigating, right?
I would imagine, yes, ma'am. You know, I didn't went to them because at the time, like I say, I was young. I was really adolescent, and I was living by the code of the street at that time.
Okay. And so what were you telling people about what you did?
I didn't tell nobody about what I did, miss. I wasn't going around bragging and things of that magnitude of nature. This is the first time I really talked publicly to somebody besides my attorney, my former attorney. I had never talked to nobody really about this incident because I don't feel comfortable about it. I'm not proud about this, miss.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't be. And it's a pretty serious crime. So I can understand why it's uncomfortable to discuss. But that's why we're here today. We're not here to, relitigate your case or determine your guilt or innocence. We're discussing the crime to get some clarification on what actually occurred. So let's I thought that I saw. Okay, so now you come into the prison and you accumulate 47 disciplinary infractions.
Damn.
And one of them resulted in an outside charge?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Why?
Not good at all.
Why? Because they say I have a dangerous instrument.
Who's that?
A shank. Oh, the officer.
Did you have a shank?
Yes, ma'am. I took full responsibility of that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't they say. It should be more of I had a shank.
Oh, yeah. I apologize for the way that I expressed myself.
Yeah, it's just, and so you received how much time for bringing the weapon into the correctional facility?
Oh, I didn't bring it. I manufactured it with something.
It says you were in possession of a weapon in a correctional institute.
Yes,
how much additional time did you get?
Oh, wow.
1 year.
Okay. And so I'm just looking at your disciplinary infractions. You got 47. Your last ticket was in January of 2020. So that's about 5 years ago. But in between that time, you received several threatening tickets, public indecencies, contraband.
Public indecencies?
What was going on, Mr. Sosa?
Sorry.
Ridiculous.
Were you not given a handbook or a manual of what the rules were in the facility?
I was. They give you a manual and to what the rules are in the facility, but going to the time, I wasn't fully mature at that time. Prison issue. I'm not gonna lie.
You're 46, so at 41, you weren't fully mature. You knew that you weren't supposed to be threatening people.
Ay.
Oh, I thought you was talking about. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I know. I mean, if you specifically tell me which DR, what day we're talking about.
Hey, I can't be serious like the other one because the other dude.
We can be talking about the DRs for 3 hours.
Like he was talking from the heart.
Yeah,
this dude,
I did to responsibility.
He's on something else.
Action,
so let the game begin.
And I did do anger management program to address that behavior, miss.
Okay.
In 2004 and 2008, and you're still getting threatening DRs in 2019.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, it really is. And the issue that we're having with the nature of your disciplinary infractions, Mr. Sosa, is that after having committed such a serious crime where 2 people lost their lives, coming into the facility and displaying any kind of aggression, fighting, threatening, all that just to us shows a continuation of the behavior that was displayed out in the community. So that's the connection that we made with those. So it's kind of like the programming that you participated in, and you did a a ton of programs. You really have. And I congratulations on receiving your GED and for getting your commercial cleaning certification. And I saw that you completed the paralegal program. So all of those things are very positive. But in the same vein, you have so many disciplinary infractions. It's really difficult to decipher whether or not you really have gained any insight or any tools going forward.
Yes, I have like the definition of the last ticket they gave me for training. It was about I needed a shower before I go to medical. Chronic was out, and I was joking with Ime Dixon, and the officer said you can come out. So I'm telling Dixon, me and him joking,
what's his name?
that you better learn how to duck when I come out, and we laughing. You know, the officer took it. The officer was sitting at the board. I even made it out of my cell, miss. And he took it as, and he wrote that a third. Because I'm telling Prisoner Dixon, he better learn how to duck when I come out. But we're just joking. And the reason why we came to that conclusion, it was because before I had to take shower when that section of the unit was out, and there was no problem. So we was making a joke about it. And I cannot change the officer's mind when he wrote these tickets or that nature. If they took it like that, I say what I say. Yes,
Why did you fight the ticket then?
Because back then I couldn't stay in set for 45 days when I can just get out in 5.
Okay, well.
Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. You know, I couldn't stay in set for 45 days. It ain't like now that they changed that policy that you cannot be in set for more than 5. I couldn't stay there, and I know, you know what, most likely these tickets you don't be in DOC. What is threat and safety and security, you will say.
Okay.
You know, so I decided to get out of there in 5 days easier.
Okay.
Are you guys buying what he's selling?
So what about the public indecency disciplinary infraction?
Yes, that is no behavior. The officer within the last one, I know I got 11. You know, I take full responsibility for that. I check myself about that. That's not a way to go about it. I don't feel proud about that behavior. That I even checked a criminology book to see if something was wrong with me, which he came out to be negative about that.
What?
I did contact Miss Jocelyn Cruz, who used to be the person in charge of treating sexual offender. She asked to see if I needed any type of programs or things like that and relate to this nature. She said that I don't qualify. That
it's not about qualifying, sir. It's not about it's the behavior. Why would you be doing this when you know that you're, I mean, in front of people? If it's a public indecency, that means that people can see what you're doing.
Straight maniaco.
Well, I was inside my cell when the officer passed by and things of that nature. They can see you.
Man,
I wasn't out of my cell.
Okay. So let's.
Oh, bad.
I mean, it's just so. It's very difficult, Mr. Sosa, to say definitively that you're done with your life of crimes and that you've demonstrated adequate institutional adjustment when you have this many disciplinary infractions, and you really doesn't sound like you're really accepting responsibility for your actions. And why, when it was time for you to go before the judge at your sentencing, did you take the Alford plea?
Well, under my attorney advice, I took the Alford plea, and that's also why the PSI also stated that under my attorney advice, he told me not just to stay quiet. Today, the first time I talked publicly about this incident, Miss.
And so I appreciate your apology to the victims and your opening statement. What information do you think you could provide them with that would make them feel comfortable with your returning to the community?
That I am a changed person, you know. I am a changed person means I am very sorry of the kind of life I was living out there before and what my action had caused to the loss and in the community. Guys, I really regret that every day. I really regret that every day, Miss. We all know hard.
So you changed 5 years ago? And you've been down for 27 and a half years almost?
27 years, Mace, yes.
And it took you 22 years to change?
It took me 22 years not to cast no more disciplinary report. But I had changed in between the lines, as you can see.
I really can't. That's why I'm
47
asking you what
disciplinaries.
information you could offer, because it's really difficult to gauge your change, sir, based on your behavior in the facility. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I'm happy that you feel as if you changed, and I really do hope that transitions, out when you're released from the facility, because you don't have a life sentence. You will be getting out at some point. But I'm just not sure that you've demonstrated enough change that would warrant your being released early.
I believe I have, man. I believe I had changed. And I mean, as you can see, I don't catch a disciplinary ticket for the last 5 years.
Well, for someone is that's your age, Mr. Sosa, I really would have liked to see that change happen a little earlier for you. And then not only a little earlier, but consistent change. Like, you knew when you got your first public indecency that you weren't supposed to be doing that, and yet you continue to receive more and more, and then the threats and I think that you really did know what you were doing, and that what you were doing was wrong, but you couldn't stop yourself.
One of the things that also helped me in everything, besides also maturing, I started taking the side medications. And since I started taking that side medication, my behavior did improve when it comes to that as well.
Okay. I'm all set, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Turner.
Mr. Sosa, do you have a problem with alcohol?
I used to drink, yes. I used to drink a lot. I used to engage in drinking. So I was a youth. I was young, and that was part of my daily activity. Just to drink socially with individuals. Yes, ma'am.
But you also suffered consequences. You had blackouts.
Yes, at a younger age, yeah, I blacked out. Throw up, things of that nature.
Do you consider alcohol a problem for you?
Yes, I consider alcohol a problem for me and in general as well. That's why I go to AA. For many years. I go to AA. I've been going to AA consistently, on and on. Recently, I did lead the meeting last week, and the title was "Being True to Yourself." There was even, excuse me.
Okay.
There was even.
So you completed the Tier 2 program. That was in 2004 at McDougal.
Yes, I did Tier 1 and Tier 2, yeah.
But you did Tier 1 in 2009, which is really odd that you would do Tier 2 and then later on, 5 years later, do Tier 1.
Yes, ma'am. I don't have control. Sorry. Go ahead.
Why? I'm trying to understand why.
Well, I don't got control of that. They put you on a list on your OAP, and if they're gonna start Tier 2 because of the counselor that is running it, then you go to Tier 2. If they're gonna start Tier 1 after that, then you do Tier 1. They don't really do it chronologically. I would love for them to do.
Okay, we've all been doing this long enough. That explanation doesn't fly. Because if you continue to have a problem after Tier 2, they put you in Tier 4, not in a lower level tier program. But my point is that after you completed Tier 2 and then Tier 1, you went on to get a Pruno ticket. Why? Were you making it?
Yes, I had some of that. Yes, okay. And that's when I started to going back to AA.
Why would you choose to make Pruno in the prison?
To drink.
Okay, well, sometimes we hear people make it to sell it so they can get commissary and, exchange things with other offenders. So it's a reasonable question for me to ask.
Yeah, so, but I wouldn't want to lie to you. So
Okay.
I'll tell you I'll tell you the
Okay.
truth. I have two little
Did you
jobs.
share it with others?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
So
I did that.
you know that many people there in the facility are struggling with an addiction.
Yes, ma'am.
They're working on their own recovery because you sit
Yes,
in
ma'am.
meetings with them.
But
And you would choose to undercut the recovery of other people by producing Pruno in the facility and then distributing it. I have a problem with that because, you're jeopardizing other people's recovery with your selfish decision to produce an illegal substance to get high in prison.
that was the old me, miss.
What up?
I don't really like the last one that I had. That was just for my personal use.
I just don't appreciate how the distinction you're trying to make. But, so you have a 5-year point that you sent us a picture of.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
5-year period does that cover?
That covered my 5 year of being ticket free.
No, it's a
Without
NA
drinking.
coin.
Yes,
It's
yes,
an
the AA coin.
Right. So what 5-year period did that 5 years represent? What year? From what year to what year?
That covered from like the year 2020.
What was the start year of the 5? What was your sober date?
I don't remember the day. I can only remember the year, miss. 2020.
I don't know. So you're saying the coin covers 2020 to 2025?
October 2025, by the way. So that's
Which
5 years.
it isn't up to 2025 yet. Why would you have a 5-year coin?
I don't drink me since I got that ticket. I didn't even have the
Well-
chance to drink it.
His math is not mathing. That's what she's telling that for.
Too bad. The point is that, we're looking for growth and development and behavior change. And I get that, recovery is not linear and that you can backslide. But, you clearly have a problem with alcohol. Blackouts is one of those big red flags, that it is a problem, a substance that has a problem for you.
That happened when I was young, when I was out in the street, when I was younger. It didn't happen
But-
during my incarceration.
I know that, but it's still an indicator that that is a problem substance for you, not just at the time that you had the blackout, but as a fact about you and alcohol. Do not mix. Do you see that?
Yes, man. I had admitted that the reason as to why I keep going and assisting and going to AA, because I know that is a problem.
Well, I hope you'll stay committed to your recovery because it'll be hard to achieve anything by way of stability and success in the community if you do decide to drink.
Nah, I'm not really going that.
So you indicated that you had some fear of the victims in your case, and that you feared them, and that is why you shot at them. Is that
Yes, ma'am. I thought it was gonna do something to me.
okay? So why, when they were both lying on the sidewalk wounded, did you continue to shoot them and not leave? If you were afraid for your safety, a normal reaction would be to flee, to get to someplace safe. But instead, you acted with all inhumanity and shot your victims additional times
And
when they posed no threat to you.
and can I answer to that?
Yes.
And
He's gonna answer you.
and yeah, and I am very sorry for my action as I had explained in my statement. You know, that was the old me. I was high on cocaine at the time.
Yayo.
So, you know,
The Tony Montana.
I wish.
I understand the circumstances, Mr. Sosa, but it sounds to me today like you're offering those as excuses for the choices that you made to kill two people.
There's no excuse for that, miss. Only thing I can do is show my repentance and my remorse for this action, for the pain and suffering that I had caused to everybody.
And serve your sentence. Okay, thank you for answering my question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Okay, at this point, we'll turn to the Office of Victim Services for any input they may have. Ms. De Jesus, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, board members. I do have two statements that I will read, and then I also have the brothers of Mr. Rodriguez via Teams. I'll begin. Dear members of the parole board, my name is Sonia Rodriguez, mother of the victim, Juan Carlos Rodriguez, and I am writing to you today in opposition of granting parole. I have lived these last 27 years suffering because of the absence of my son. Every one of his birthdays, every Christmas, every single day is a fresh wound that does not heal because of that individual who today enjoys the privilege of seeking parole due to being a minor at the time he committed this crime. 27 years ago, he had a twisted mind and a perverse heart, which didn't make his hands shake when he violently stole my son's life. And there is no reason to believe that this is still not the case. In that moment, he acted as an adult and not as a minor. He has taken away my granddaughter's right to grow up alongside her father. All I ask is for justice to be served until the very last day of his sentence, and that he might not cause harm to anyone else. Thank you for the opportunity to share this letter with the members of the parole board, to ask you that you deny parole and allow justice to be carried out. Sincerely, Sonia Rodriguez. I will now read a statement from Mr. Rodriguez's sister. Esteemed members of the parole board, my name is Janet Rodriguez. I am the sister of the victim, Juan Carlos Rodriguez. I urge you sincerely to deny any appeal made on behalf of this murderer for early release. On the day when this individual chose to commit this crime and take my brother's life, along with that of another human being, he did not demonstrate any remorse or hesitation. He made the decision in full recognition of the horror and pain he was causing, thinking not like a minor, but like a grown man taking the lives of others, without a thought to the victims and those they left behind. Juan Carlos was a son, a brother, an uncle, and was going to be a father and a grandfather one day. His daughter Carla came into this world a mere 3 months after the death of her father, without ever having the opportunity to know him, to grow with him, and be cared for by him. We still suffer the loss of my brother's life every single day. Every special occasion is marked by a painful absence. When I became a mother of 3 beautiful children, I was overjoyed that I had my brothers and my parents to see them grow and to love and care for them. But my children missed out on the chance to know the incredible person that Juan Carlos was. Nothing can ever make up for that. This individual, who now expects to be granted freedom and leniency, still has the privilege of waking up every day to a future, to breathe fresh air, to live a life like the one he senselessly robbed of my brother of. His sentence left him without the possibility of parole, not only because of the brutality of his crime, but because of the evil in his heart that would harm another family like ours if given the chance. His sentence should stand in order for justice to be served. And to prevent more pain like the pain our family has gone through every day for the last 27 years. Please, I ask that you do not allow the risk of another person's life to be taken and another family to be shattered by showing undeserved clemency to this individual. I ask that his appeal be denied and that he serve every day of his sentence. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Sincerely, Janet Rodriguez. I will now ask Mr. Rodriguez's brothers to unmute and one at a time speak, and you may address the board. And I am to remind you that you are to address the board only. You may begin.
Things ain't looking good for him. That's just my humble opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about the whole situation.
Good afternoon. My name is Gustavo Rodriguez. My brother Juan Carlos Rodriguez is one of the victims in this case. I want to begin by saying that I strongly oppose the parole of Andres Sosa, who was convicted of the brutal and senseless murder of my brother and that of a second person. Granting parole to this individual would not only be an injustice to the victims and their loved ones, but would also pose a serious risk to public safety. The crime committed by Andres Sosa was violent, intentional, and it showed an extreme and complete indifference for human life. He chose to execute two people, leaving behind devastation and irreversible pain for my family, friends, and the community. The severity of this crime demands that the full weight of justice be upheld.
Ah, wow.
You see, we were not the only victims that day. The city of New Britain suffered too. The first responders, the EMTs and police officers who responded to the carnage left behind by the cowardly act committed by Andres Sosa were undoubtedly traumatized by what they saw. The bleeding, lifeless bodies of two human beings left like trash on the street. The detectives that had to attend and view the autopsies of two young men because of what Andres Sosa did, images that will be forever seared in their memories. Juan has a daughter that he never met, was grown up, excuse me.
You could definitely hear the pain in his voice.
Without knowing the love and affection of a father. Beyond the nature of the crime itself, there's no assurance that Andres Sosa has been rehabilitated or no longer poses a threat to society. The consequences of such a heinous act should not be diminished by an early release. To grant parole undermines the seriousness of this offense, and it sends a troubling message that such acts can be forgiven with time rather than met with the full measure of accountability they deserve. Deterrence is the cornerstone of our criminal and correctional justice systems. Incarceration is not only meant to be a punishment, but as a means of rehabilitation. Releasing Andres Sosa early would do the opposite. Andres Sosa's conviction was not the result of a trial. He admitted his guilt and pled guilty in return for the sentence he received, which he agreed to serve, but is not completed. Moreover, Andres Sosa's incarceration has not affected his willingness to engage in criminal behavior. According to public judicial records, he was convicted in 2016 of possessing a weapon in a correctional institution, hardly the actions of an individual deserving of being paroled. It shows that his willingness to commit violence and hurt others has not waned while he's been incarcerated. Andres Sosa intentionally and deliberately executed two people in cold blood. He chose to point a gun at two human beings. He fired the gun knowing that he was killing Juan. He shot Juan in the head from behind. Gunshot wounds to the head are incompatible to life, and Andres Sosa knew this. Juan still had his hands in his pockets when the first responders arrived. Juan was only 20 years old when Andres Sosa executed him. His carefully crafted statement rings hollow. His inability to explain the night of and what led to the murder show that he has not taken accountability for what he did. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the board to deny parole and ensure that Andres Sosa serves his entire sentence. Justice for my brother Juan, my family, the city of New Britain, and the second victim demands nothing less. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me, Melissa?
Put a fork
Yes.
in him because he's done.
Okay. My name is Henry Rodriguez. Juan Carlos Rodriguez is my older brother. Before I continue, I'd like to thank the Victim Advocate Office for the genuine display of care and compassion with my family, and especially my mother, then and now. I'd like to thank the New Britain Police Department and the New Britain Superior Court for working tirelessly in 1997 to bring this case to a conclusion. A lot has happened since 1997. Shortly after my brother's death, I graduated high school. I went on to serve this country in the military. Instead, I've dedicated and devoted 2 decades of my life in law enforcement. I'm married and I have children. I've even graduated college, something Juan Carlos would have been very proud of. I have achieved all of this while carrying the burden of my brother's death. I highlight these events in my life because I like the board members to know that as an adult now, I struggle every day with the loss of my brother. A part of me surely died with Juan Carlos. So much has not happened because his life was callously taken away, left for dead on a cold sidewalk. For instance, Juan Carlos was not there for any of my graduations. He was not home when I arrived from the military. And his chair was empty at my wedding. But he was never able to hold my children, and Juan Carlos' absence weighs heavily on my soul. Conversely, Juan Carlos' right to be a father was stripped away. He died on a cold sidewalk, knowing he would never see his child. Juan Carlos was never able to look into his daughter's eyes. He could not sing her to sleep and never had the chance to see her grow up like most fathers should. No more birthdays, no more Thanksgiving, and no more Christmases will ever be the same. In my life, even in my happiest moments, there's a void that will never be filled. As an adult, I struggle when I feel I'm forgetting his face, his smile, and his big blue eyes. I often close my eyes to remember him because the little boy in me misses Juan Carlos. There are no other words I can find that can communicate to the board members the impact that Juan Carlos' death has had on my family and me. Juan Carlos cannot get another chance in life. There's no do-overs for my brother, just old memories. However, if this inmate is granted parole, he gets another chance at life, a do-over who can potentially commit more crimes and be a risk to another human. Lastly, justice was carried out in 2001 when a Superior Court judge sentenced him to 42 years for murdering not one person but taking 2 lives. And I believe the righteous thing to do here is to deny this person parole. This person does not belong in our community. And I'd like to thank everyone, the board members, for this opportunity to speak on behalf of my brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members. That's all I have.
Thank you. So at this time, each of the attorneys will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement. We'll begin with State's Attorney Watson. Attorney Watson, if you have any comments, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board members and everyone else that's present. Thank you for the opportunity to address you as I normally do. I will tell this panel that I've reviewed this case since I was assigned to it. This is what I can only say, one of the most callous acts of violence I have seen in the 20 some odd years I've been a prosecutor. This individual that sits before you walked up to 2 people on the street shot one in the back of the head, shot the other who was standing, and once they were on the ground, executed them. And I say executed because that's exactly what he did. He executed 2 human beings. He went in front of a judge and agreed to a 43-year sentence. And that was after several weeks of jury selection. That was an agreement. He chose to accept that. That agreement should be honored. What I point out to this panel is the following. I listened to Mr. Sosa sit before this panel and apologize, and I will say that he apologized profusely for causing the loss of these 2 lives. Now, I struggle with that. And the reason why I struggle with it is that I sit here at my desk with a 107-page document for a petition for a new trial that Mr. Sosa filed in his own handwriting. And what I'm going to read to you is what really doesn't sit well with me. In his petition for a new trial, he states the following. In January of '98, petitioner was arrested in connection with a November 15, 1997 shooting, approximately 11:54 p.m. on Clark Street in New Britain. This was a shooting of Juan Carlos Little Rodriguez and Arcadio Charlie Ace Rivera. Since day one, petitioner has consistently maintained his innocence. So he sits before you today and tells you that he's sorry for committing this violent act. And he files a petition for a new trial dated on his own signature on June 30th of 2024 and says he didn't do it. I don't have anything else to say.
Mic drop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Watson. At this time, Attorney O'Brien, if you have any final remarks you would like to make, you may do so now.
What up, Tita?
Yes, thank you to the board for the opportunity to present Mr. Sosa's case as to why he should be paroled, and it's our position that he should be. He does show why this special type of parole exists in the first place. And as the board knows full well, it's not a type of parole that's applied for. It's a creature of statute that operates by length of sentence and age of offender. And this is what brings Mr. Sosa today to this before the board. He's a young man without a stable home or a stable family life, driven like so many in that situation to seek acceptance from where he could find it. He did. And he found it with a group of people who, across a couple of different states, were involved with weapons and with drugs and preyed on young men. And he got that acceptance from them. And it is something that a young man of his age at that time couldn't simply control. And it led him down a path straight to maybe the worst decision any person could ever make, the worst act that anyone could ever do. He did it twice. Anger, immaturity, defiance continued to plague the beginning of his incarceration. He'd get tickets, he'd get into trouble. He would not accept responsibility for his own role in getting here. He's not the man who began his statement today with sincere expressions of remorse for what he did. Becoming that man, this man, took time. As the board well knows, that's the point of these hearings, the point of the statutes passed in 2015 and 2023, creating this kind of parole, to ask these questions. Some monster versus someone who's little more than a child who can change. Because one of those two people is salvageable. And Andres has proven through his submissions and statements here today that he is the latter, that he has salvaged his life. He has worked hard and has continued to work hard and knows that that work is ongoing until the day he dies. You can see it clearly in his records. You can see it in a dramatic rise in completed programming. In education, I believe he had said earlier, I wrote this down, about applications to Wesleyan in 2002 and 2004. Those are 2022 and 2024. In vocational training for a life that, whether he's granted parole or not, he will be released to one day. He was too young when he was sentenced. He will be released. He's recognized that and engaged in that training. He said at some point in his opening statement about making a decision about going to take tiers 1 and tiers 2. It's not a decision. It's OAP. It's required of him. It's expected of him. But I think the important thing to remember is really that, in his own words, about making decisions, you don't get rehabilitated unless you want it, unless you work towards it. So obviously, it's not up to him to satisfy his OAP. He's required to do it. But it does take an investment. It does take a choice to commit yourself to it, to actually get something out of it. I believe he's shown that. The issue of his tickets has come up several times today. As I said earlier, it takes time. It's a process. It's an ongoing process. The fact that there's been nothing in the last 5 years is indicative of that process. Maybe finally taking hold, maybe later in his life, but taking hold, meaning something. Most importantly, perhaps to him. Even though he didn't have a good support system to keep him from walking down the path that led him right to this seat, he's developed one. You have letters from several of those individuals in the submission often. Multiple letters of support. He interviewed his sister, Betsy, who will support him on the release. Letters from his aunt and uncle who own property in New York and where he was born in the Dominican. As for his re-entry plan, it's realistic and it's mature. He knows he can't do it alone. He's asking if he is allowed to stay in the country, to stay in New York with his sister. Nevertheless, he has an immigration detainer. It's entirely possible that if released, again, to parole or eventually one day that he would be removed from the country. He has developed relationships with his family and has a support system in the Dominican as well. Relationships, these plans, is focus on education, is focus on work, drop in tickets over time. Ultimately, the attitudes, the outlooks that he's expressed today demonstrate what this process is looking for. It's maturity. Maturity to change yourself, maturity to conduct yourself in the laws of society. So with all that in mind, we submit that continued incarceration is no longer necessary. It's a request that the board find that Andres be paroled. Thank you.
Thanks, Attorney Brian. Madam Chair?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. At this point, Mr. Sosa, the panel will enter into deliberation to discuss your case, and we'll come back to you shortly with our decision. Do you see the point that Attorney Watson was?
I do.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll begin with you.
Madam Chair, I'm looking over this 117-page document that was submitted by Mr. Sosa, and it is dated December 31st, 2024 is when it was actually filed. So he is in fact trying to appeal or something his sentence he's doing, but do you see a claim in there that he's innocent, didn't commit the crime? It doesn't say that he is innocent and didn't commit the crime. The basis that I'm seeing is his saying that people were giving false.
Well, let's see if Attorney Watson can give us a page number.
Give us a page number, Attorney Watson, please.
Turn to page 2 of his filing. At the bottom of the page, it begins paragraph number 2. Turn to the top of page 3, and it says, since day one, petitioner has consistently maintained his innocence.
Page 2. In January 1990, petitioner was arrested in connection with the November 15, 1997, approximately 11:54 shooting of the two people. Since day one, petitioner has consistently maintained his innocence.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So far. Yeah. I don't know. It's a no for me.
Okay, it's a no for you. Yes. Okay.
The disciplinary infractions and the nature of the crime alone was already very concerning prior to even learning about this petition. So I would add victim input as well as a reason, but it's a denial.
Okay. I want to thank the victims for their statements. They gave very eloquent statements,
They really
and
were.
I really do appreciate the input. Ms. Turner.
I can't see my way clear. record inside, just behaviorally, it is a sharp contrast to some of the things that he has achieved. And as State's Attorney pointed out, the nature of this basically being an execution is so disturbing that I know that he, Mr. Sosa, indicated he agrees with the sentence, and he accepted it. And
well, but that's clearly not the case if he's looking for a new trial.
well, he accepted it at the time.
Oh.
He didn't take it to trial. So
Got it.
Oh.
Yeah, very troubling. I don't know how you express remorse. Come here and say you're sorry for the things that you did when you have a petition in court saying that you didn't do it. But for me, the disciplinary reports, after taking the programs that we look for offenders to take it,
and to address the underlying issues.
Well,
that
right.
are discipline.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, there really just is no way that we could find a way to grant. I guess the real issue is with 16 years remaining, do we rehear the case? I'm not interested in rehearing the case.
I share the same sentiment.
Okay.
You want to propose something?
No, I mean, I was thinking a minimum of 5 years, but so he would be 10 years away from his last disciplinary report. But I don't know that it will change much in light of the new information that we have. Because I don't know how genuine and sincere anything he brought forward would be at that point. Okay. We're done? Yes. All right. In the matter of Andre Sosa, inmate number 260589, I'll make a motion to deny parole for the following reasons: the nature and circumstance of your instant offenses, the injury and impact to the victims and the victims' families, poor institutional adjustment, and inadequate evidence of offender change. Is there anything further? Is there a second to the motion? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Mr. Sosa, you've been denied parole. We wish you the best and hope that you will continue to work on yourself. Thank you to everyone for your participation here today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. This concludes the Public Act 23-169 hearing for Andre Sosa, case number 260589, and it is 1:48 p.m.
Those are the breaks right there. What do you guys think? Do you guys was justice served right there? Did he have that coming? Shh, that's it. It's over for him. Yeah, stufas, hang up the gloves, and he got another 17 to go. Not the music. Hey, if you haven't done so, please do so. Hit that follow button. It's free 99. If you're on TikTok, if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It's also free 99. Highly appreciate it, and it'll help the channel grow. Also, if you guys could go ahead and drop some comments on this video once it comes up, I would highly appreciate it. It'll help us grow on and have this video shout out to the algorithm, if you will. Anyhow, let me see. Justice never served with these people. They play God. Writes Montana. David Gallegos, thank you for the follow. Highly appreciate it. Ashley, thank you for the follow. It just keeps getting worse. Spencer writes. Kramer writes, why did he say he was guilty but then wanted a new trial? He's trying to go home. He's trying to go home under any circumstances. Sosa didn't own up to nothing, writes John. Let me see. Jenna, glad he is not getting out. Let me see. John, Bruno tickets on site. Let me see. Key and Corey writes, advancements in forensics. Lot of guys want new trials. Yup, that is true. 17 years, 2042. Damn, super roll. That's when he's gonna get out. Fool's done. Man, by the time he gets out, cars are gonna be flying. You know what I'm saying? Hey, what did you guys think about the first case? That first case was definitely, that was an emotional one, I have to say. That, if you compare the two of them, the first guy, he had been down what was it, like 12 years or something, and he only had 4 write-ups. This dude had been down 25 years and he had 47 write-ups. You could see the contrast between the both of them. If I had to choose who was gonna go home, and you had to choose at least one person, I would have definitely chosen the first guy. That would have been, if I want anybody to live next to me, that's who I want to be my neighbor, not the second dude. That second dude, he was a mess, and he took out 2 people in cold blood. Who does that? He laid them down, then he let him have it in the head. So definitely, definitely, hey, they made the right choice today. Let me see, Debbie. We don't know why he pleaded guilty in the first place. Sometimes they are threatening with it be like that sometimes, but ultimately he admitted in this hearing that he did it. I mean, there's just no way around it. Why didn't he have life? I think he didn't get life because he was a juvenile when he committed the offense, and at that time I'm assuming they were a little bit more lenient depending on the state, but every state's different. Hey, what's up, what's up, D Smith? Man, I thought you had already followed already. What's up? Let me see. Yeah, but those guys were in the streets. I don't think it was cold blood. We don't know the full story. That is true, but then at the end of the day, everybody has family members, and the family members are the ones that suffer at the end of the day. Once you're gone. Let me see, Sidney Lee, and the family members didn't sign up. They didn't agree to the terms of the street game, if that makes any sense. Not this one. Okay, I probably thank you, Holly, appreciate it. Ostrich, should have been tried as an adult, right? Ostrich. Let me see, Mr. Do It All Right. First guy did 12, but was sentenced to 15. That's right, because he took a plea for manslaughter. Yup. And that's it, guys. This is all she wrote for now. Really appreciate you guys that they let him out. The second guy, no. The first guy did get found suitable for parole. But anyways, guys, hey, I do appreciate you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and take a break right now because I've been on for a few hours already. I gotta get something to eat and stretch my legs, if you will. But I'll be back shortly. We should have, what time is it right now? It's 12:54, so I'll probably be back at in about 2 hours. We'll go ahead and start off with a Maricopa initial appearance, if you will. Anyhow, hey, I do appreciate every single one of you guys, whether you're dropping comments, whether you're interacting, whether you're hitting the hearts, whether you're giving me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, leaving a comment on the video. If you're just lurking, if you're watching, if you're sharing, you're not sharing. Either way, I appreciate you guys. All right. I am Collect Call James. You are watching. You have a Collect Call From. And like I said around here, life's like a candle. Once you blow it out, it's lights out. And with that, we're out. Rato. And stay tuned. I'm going to transfer